Leslie, let's start with some news that we're breaking right now. We've learned that Florida is now considering closing what the chairman of the Wildlife Commission here told me are loopholes in this state's regulations that may have contributed to the case of Jerry Lee Holly and the zebras that died in Maryland. Our investigation is focused on the 810-acre farm Jerry Lee Holly owns near Micanopy, Florida, where Florida documents show that animals like zebras, giraffes, and impalas have roamed and monkeys and exotic birds have been kept. Public records say Holly is an exhibitor, breeder, and dealer of exotic wildlife. But Florida records show that Holly was convicted of misdemeanor animal caging violations here twice. In 2012 and 2013, adjudication was withheld and he served no jail time. And the records show that since 2004, Holly was cited at least 240 times by Florida and federal regulators for violations, including a lack of veterinary care, a lack of trained employees, and dangerous cages. These federal reports from the U.S. Department of Agriculture show injured monkeys. At least one death was reported after investigators theorized a primate died of exposure during a cold snap. Holly's state exotic animal exhibition and public sale licenses in Florida were revoked in 2016. Quote, receiving written warnings and criminal convictions for your wildlife violations has not sufficiently deterred you, the commission said in the revocation letter to Holly. Yet since then, inspection report after inspection report shows that animals were kept and sold from Holly's Florida facility until at least May of this year. This report from May 28th inventoried at least 90 exotic animals, including a herd of 50 zebras on the property, nearly 5 years after his state license was revoked in Florida.
I think what your investigation has exposed is that we have a loophole.
Rodney Barreto is chairman of Florida's Fish, Wildlife, and Conservation Commission. Barreto explained that Holly and other exotic animal wildlife operators merely find employees, friends, or family with their own wildlife licenses, who then continue to run lucrative businesses at violators' facilities. The businesses include breeding exotic wildlife, selling to collectors and zoos, or leasing out animals for profit to exhibitors. In Holly's case, the Florida documents show an employee, quote, is currently the permit holder for the captive wildlife at this facility, while some of the animals on site are owned by another individual and are on breeder loan.
And the loophole is that when a bad actor leaves let's say in our case, Florida, and ends up in, let's say, this story, Maryland, there's no communication going on between states.
At Holly's farm, Billy Head, who identified himself as a current employee of Jerry Lee Holly, said exotic animals have finally been moved out. How about all the exotic animals like the African wildlife and all that? Is there any of that left here?
No, sir.
They moved it all?
Yes, sir. I mean, he had zebras, but they're all up there somewhere.
When did they leave from here, do you know?
It's been a couple of months ago.
Other residents we talked to called Holly's farm a showplace with scenes right out of Africa's wilderness.
It's been great. We love it.
Then I told neighbor Tina Robbins about the records we found. I just wonder how that strikes you.
It's shocking because they appear to be well taken care of.
I'm so frustrated.
Local animal welfare advocate Diane Marchand showed reams of documents from similar Florida cases she's working on.
They just keep giving people chances, and I don't know if it's a thing they don't want to take the animals, but it's like, how long are you going to let these animals suffer while you're babysitting?
Here again is Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission Chairman Rodney Barreto.
And of course, we didn't know where he was going. He could have popped up in Virginia. He could have popped up in North Carolina. But there's got to be some database that we can put bad actors' names on so that when they apply for some kind of wildlife permit, that there's a red flag that goes up. In this case, we're talking about zebras, but I mean, we could be talking about lions.
So now Florida is considering closing that loophole that allows these people who don't even own the animals or the property to get licenses to continue to run businesses like the one Mr. Holly had here in Florida. And Barreto says he's going to urge Florida to launch a database that all states can use.
Okay, so that's Florida, Scott, but what about the feds?
Yeah, we have not yet mentioned here the role of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which issues federal licenses for wildlife keepers and traders. And in this case, they granted Holly a new license to keep animals in Maryland, despite fining him more than $13,000 several years ago, and despite his extensive record of violations here in Florida. The agency has refused to comment.
So the agency isn't talking. What about Mr. Holly? He's been pretty quiet. Is he speaking at all about any of this?
He is not. I've met Mr. Holly in person very briefly. He declined to comment. We've made every effort to talk to people who represent him, even family members. No one has said a word about this to us.
All right, Scott. Well, we know you'll stay on this story because you followed it all the way to Gainesville, Florida. Thank you so much.